Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I hope you're all doing well this fine Thursday. Can't believe we're halfway through May already. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? And it's another lovely day here in Northern England. Hello, Teresa, Mimi, Amy Lou, to Arctic Wolves and CW. Oh, and M. Osland has just popped in as well. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. So we're reviewing day 15 of the Karen Reid retrial. Dun, dun, dun. So after the day off, when there was an unscheduled illness, court resumed yesterday. And we didn't get to see any of the court till short of 11 because John O'Keefe's niece was, she's a minor. Oh, just got a text come through. Okay, I'll reply to that later. Yeah, John O'Keefe's niece was on the stand first, and she's still a minor. She's only 17. Kaylee. We heard her name. I mean, everyone knew her name, I guess, but at the first trial, they used their initials. They didn't call Kaylee and Patrick by their names, but they are doing this time, so I'll use their name as well. But cameras weren't allowed in, so we don't know what they said other than what reporters said. So I'm going to play a short clip from Court TV in a second, just from their reporting of it. But I'm mainly going to focus on the last witness of the day, the longest witness. She's still on the stand. Cross-examinations continuing with an absolutely sublime performance by Robert Alessi. I really like Alessi. I really like him. Really like him. I wasn't sure at first when he first started appearing in the pre-trial hearings. I wasn't sure I was going to warm to him. And I don't know why. I think at first I thought, oh, he's trying too hard. He's just annoying. He's trying too hard. But no, I really like him. Really like him. Really like him. And he's doing all the technical testimony. So it was a sublime performance. So we're going to see more of that today. And it's just absolutely insane. I mean, we heard this stuff last year, but listening to it all again this year, it's even more crazy than it was last year. I don't know how a well-educated, master's degree educated crime scene analysis person works in the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab. I don't know how she can keep a straight face. I mean, look, I don't think she's in on it. I don't think she's in on any cover-up, honestly. But I did mean to go out last night under the cover of darkness because I don't want to do this in the day. But I was going to take a collection of hairs because there's an awful lot of hairs that hang around my house, right? Because I've got 3 dogs. So I was going to take a collection of different hairs outside. I was going to use Kyle's car. I'm not going to just go up to a random car and start doing it. But I was going to see if I could get hairs to stick to a vertical surface on the exterior of a car, whether it's actually possible. But I fell asleep. I fell asleep really early last night. I must have been tired, so I didn't do it. And by the time I woke up, it was light out. And I'm not going to do this in the daytime because neighbours will walk by and go, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm trying to stick hairs to a vertical surface of the exterior of a car." Can you imagine? So I'm going to do it, though. I'm going to do it. I'm going to see if hairs will stick without using any form of adhesive, glue, anything at all, staples, anything. I mean, is there some kind of electromagnetism in hairs which will stick them to a surface? It just seems so bizarre. Especially they're trying to get us to believe that this hair managed to cling on all the way from outside of 34 Fairview when presumably it fell off John O'Keefe's head or even his arm. I mean, it could be arm hair. Does he have hairy arms? I don't really know. Right? So it stuck to the side and then it was driven all the way back to John's house and then all the way back to Fairview, then to Dighton, to Karen's parents' house, and then loaded onto a truck and taken back to Canton. Are we really meant to believe that one single solitary hair can cling on all of that time during a blizzard? During a blizzard. Seriously now. I mean, it's bad enough expecting a little piece of glass to cling onto a bumper all of that way. But at least it's on a horizontal surface. At least it's sitting on something. At least it doesn't have to defy gravity. It has to defy the weather, but at least it doesn't have to defy gravity. But a single solitary hair clinging on to a vehicle, come on now. Seriously. These things were planted for the crime scene person to find, surely. I mean, how they managed to stick the hair on. Also, as well as it having some kind of magical property to defy not only the weather, but also gravity, it also moves on its own. No, come on now. Come on now. Thinking they might stick to a car if the car's wet. But how did it survive all that snow? Exactly. There was snow. There was snow dropping off the car. But it's the travelling. It's the travelling, surely. Even if it stuck on while it was wet and cold, surely it would get dislodged at some point during the journey. And then, you know, it sat for, 3 days in the Sally Port at Kenton PD till she turned up on the 1st of February. So, yeah, 29th, 30th, 31st. Yeah, 3 days. When it would be dry and the snow was all falling off. So it's unlikely that a piece of glass would hang on all of that way. But at least it doesn't have to defy gravity. And something as light as a hair, and just look, come on. No, I can't. It's just magical thinking. It's ridiculous. All right, we're going to start with the report from Court TV. And this is just a little bit about what the testimony from Kaylee said. And I do feel sorry for Kaylee. I absolutely feel sorry for those 2 kids. You know, they've endured the death of their mother, their father, and now their uncle, who was their legal adopted guardian. It's horrendous for them. But they're now living with Peggy O'Keefe, and Peggy O'Keefe is the head of the Witches' Coven. I'm sorry. I have sympathy for Peggy losing 2 children. I get it. I do. I really do. But it doesn't excuse the fact that she's, I don't know, she's not a very nice person. At least it doesn't appear that she comes across as a very nice person. So it's no surprise that Kaylee now doesn't like Karen. Now, you've got to bear in mind that when Karen and John were dating, John would get on at Karen for spoiling them. She was particularly close to Kaylee. And John would argue with her for buying her clothes and buying her donuts and just generally spoiling them. So when Kaylee describes her as cold, well, we know why. It's because Karen was scared of talking to the kids anymore. Fear of causing an argument. So anyway, let's play this clip here. It's only 7 minutes. There's a domestic violence expert at the end on as well. But we'll play this and see what you think.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julia Janae along with Ted Rollins. Thank you for following along with us. We're bringing you the murder retrial for Karen Reed happening in Massachusetts, where she faces up to life in prison for the death of her boyfriend, who was a Boston police officer, John O'Keefe.
He, of course, was found outside the home of Brian Albert, a now retired Boston police sergeant. The trial taking place in Dedham, Massachusetts. This morning, John O'Keefe's 17-year-old niece testified, and this was done without cameras, so we didn't get to watch it. However, we have Matt Johnson with us, and he did get to see it. And Matt, good to see you. This was a huge witness, and we didn't get to see it. Please fill us in. Tell us about the mood in the courtroom and everything else.
Ted, Julia, nice to see you both. So the day started off with more clips of this defendant, Karen Reed, describing her relationship, saying that she was in a good relationship and that John O'Keefe did not want to break up with her. Following that, half of the O'Keefe family stood up from their seats in the gallery and they walked out. The media that was only using pen and paper at the time, we were looking around at each other. And then we noticed that some minors started filing into those seats. It was friends of this witness, this niece of Officer John O'Keefe. He was raising her at the time of this incident, 17 years old now, and she was wearing a white sweater, and she was soft-spoken as she talked about the breakdown in the relationship. She talked about, in general, the coldness of the defendant, in her opinion. She was asked, how would it feel spending time with the defendant? She answered, it felt like coldness towards me. She was asked this, how often would you feel that? And she said, occasionally. Then they went into details about the possible motive here, the breakdown of the relationship and that Aruba trip where Karen Reed was allegedly accusing John O'Keefe of cheating. She was asked, following the trip, was there more tension between JJ, who is John O'Keefe, that's what she called him, and Karen Reed? She said that there was a lot more tension and fighting. And then she went on to describe the fact that her uncle, who again she called JJ, asked Karen Reed to leave his home after that trip, that New Year's trip, and Karen Reed refused to.
Yeah, we're not hearing a lot in terms of the jury about Aruba, Matt, but that's getting into those details, it sounds like. What was her testimony about January 29th, 2022, the day that John O'Keefe was missing and then ultimately found at 34 Fairview?
Yeah, she even got more somber on the stand. She was really talking about the fact that just hours before she was celebrating getting into the private school of her choice. She went to bed at around midnight. And then she was woken up out of a deep sleep at around 4:30 in the morning on the 29th by this defendant who was shaking her and yelling, get up, get up. John did not return home last night. And then, according to this testimony, she was instructing the 17-year-old to text various people and get them on the phone, including Jen McCabe. Here's part of the testimony. She said the defendant was also stating this, could I have done something? Could John have been hit by a plow? And then she moved on to the Jen McCabe part of the conversation. She said that, did you notice any specific statements to Jen McCabe or others? She answered, maybe I hit him. How many times did she say that? She answered, I think once. She also told the jury about how the defendant was acting after Jen McCabe and Carrie Roberts arrived at her home. She said, she was asked, did the defendant ever comfort you? She replied, no. Did she ever come into your room? She replied again, no. What was Jen McCabe's demeanor? She replied, level-headed. How about the defendant's demeanor? And then she replied, still frantic. She was describing a very chaotic scene the morning of the 29th. During this testimony, the jury was taking a lot of notes, but they were also looking at this witness. A lot of the women were leaning forward, in between note-taking, and then looking over at the defense table. Karen Reed, I could notice, she was leaning back. She was trying to make eye contact. There was no eye contact between the two, and she was just holding her head in her hand.
Boy, thank you for bringing that to life for us, Matt. I mean, you have to feel so horrible for both the niece and the nephew.
Absolutely, especially everything they've been through, not even just the death of John O'Keefe, but they had already lost their parents. Karen Reed was like a pseudo-parent, it sounded like, before the breakup, and then she was immediately out of their lives.
All right, let's bring in studio with us domestic violence expert and former law enforcement officer Claudia King. This is one of those witnesses that I'm sure the cross-examination, in fact, I don't know if Matt said they had any cross-examination, had to be short. You tiptoe around someone like this who has been through so much, but talk about through the eyes of someone who was young, but also had that unique front row seat because she was there to see the relationship sort of devolve right before John O'Keefe's death.
That's exactly what I was thinking when Matt talked about her testimony today, and she talked about things getting worse kind of after that Aruba trip. And I find it very interesting as well that she said she heard Karen say maybe a plow hit him, or could a plow have hit him, maybe I hit him. Where that has a problem for me is because Karen has said time and time again she saw him go into the house. So why would those be the first things that came to your mind, is that a plow or she hit him if she saw him go into the house? But I agree with you. I think this witness gave a really unique perspective and a great perspective for the jury to see Karen Reed and how she was towards John.
What do you
All right, I don't particularly want to listen to the rest of that. Look, what breakup? And even if Kaylee did have a front row seat, as they put it, she's not going to be privy to the conversations that John and Karen were having. Is she? She's not going to know why Karen didn't want to spend time with them in those final days. But we know, and I hope the jury can remember this, the text messages that were read out between John O'Keefe and Karen Reed on that final day. It was very clear that John did not want to break up. He wanted Karen to go over that night, and she didn't want to. She wanted to meet him out because they'd had an argument that morning over the kids, over her spoiling the kids. And she said something to the effect of, I'm paraphrasing, I don't want to come over because if I talk to the kids, you'll get mad. So Karen was distancing herself from the kids. So yeah, maybe Kaylee picked up on that and she sensed it as being cold. But what Kaylee's not privy to is the reason why. And the reason was that her uncle did not want Karen to be spending time with them. He wanted he wanted to be in total control of them all. He didn't want Karen having a unique relationship with them and spoiling them, taking them out for donuts and things. But yet he wanted Karen to come over to spend time with him. So Kelly would have no idea about anything like that. She's not privy to their private conversations. She's not privy to their text messages. And when Karen, during those texts, when Karen was talking about the plumber, you know, getting the water fixed, and he was saying, oh, he was all jealous. he said something to the effect of, well, I thought you'd be staying here all weekend. I thought you'd be staying here till Monday. So he didn't just want her to go over that night. He wanted to stay for the entire weekend. It doesn't sound like they've broken up at all. It's just convenient for the prosecution for them to believe that that's what happened. That Karen was like hanging on to him, when it's absolutely evident from the testimony that's been presented already that that wasn't the case. So I hope the jury can put that together. Exactly, he was happy for her to be a nanny to the kids when it suited him. Exactly. So at New Year's in Aruba, he went out drinking for New Year's Eve, and she was left looking after Kaylee and Patrick. So when it suited him, it was fine for her to spend time with the kids. But when Karen wanted to do anything independently with them, that was wrong. So, all right. So we had a couple of witnesses before. They were short witnesses, like foundational witnesses, like just testifying to stuff that Brennan's gonna want to get into. But this is the crime scene person, and we went through Brennan's direct. We've shown some photos of this hair, this magical hair. This is the hair here. We're going to play the cross in relation to the hair. Okay, we got the tail light. How clean does that look? And Alessi was quite right when he said, well, did you swab the inside of the tail light? Because if John O'Keefe, right, if John O'Keefe was sideswiped by the car, smashed the tail light, sending pieces strewn all over the road and all over the lawn, how on earth that could happen? Because if he's hit, right, he had to be hit maybe in the elbow area for it to even break the tail light. It had to be some considerable force to break those tail lights. They're pretty strong, right? So he smashes it with his elbow like Superman or something, supersonic strength, smashes it, sends pieces flying everywhere, defying basic common sense. Because if you smash your elbow into it, wouldn't all the pieces go inside? If the car's coming towards his elbow and the elbow connects, and that's how he gets all the scratches and bites down his arm, supposedly, doesn't break his elbow, which it definitely would. It would dislocate his shoulder, which it didn't. But those pieces would have gone inside. Surely. It would have buckled. Surely. It would, even if it was a force strong enough to break it, the pieces would have been on the inside. How would it have flown, all these pieces of plastic, how would they have flown all over the lawn? The force is going the wrong way. But surely the obvious place to swab would be on the inside of the tail light or around the edges, because if they're trying to say that John O'Keefe's body, his arm, smashed that tail light, taking swabs from the exterior, where it's been subject to weather, it's been subject to degradation, the better chance of getting DNA would be from the edges and from the inside. And if they could prove that John O'Keefe's DNA was on the inside of the taillight, like as he smashed the taillight with his supersonic elbow, it would have left skin cells and stuff on the inside. The pieces would be on inside. The damage would be on the inside. So there would be skin cells and stuff that you could harvest from the edges and the inside. Why didn't they swab the inside? Because if they could prove that his DNA was on the inside, that's way more convincing than anything that you might find on the outside. And it would also have brought up any DNA from anybody who, I don't know, put their hands in the cookie jar to get pieces of taillight out to go and scatter them on the lawn. Oh, maybe that's why they didn't test the inside of the taillight, because they didn't want any chance of Michael Proctor's DNA being found in there. All right, okay. Ridiculous. Okay. The claws, we know that she swabbed. If I can just get, I don't have a timestamp for this, but these holes, right? This is on John O'Keefe's hoodie, sweatshirt type thing. And she swabbed these holes. And we know from trial 1 there was no dog DNA on these holes. Now, I don't know exactly where she swabbed, but she marked the holes. And these holes, these are puncture wounds from a dog. How do I know this? Because I've had so many items of clothing bitten by dogs, usually puppies, over the years. And there's the little puncture wounds from dogs. That's what they are. You've got the puncture wound and then you've got the scrape. Teeth holes, they are, the teeth holes. They're teeth holes. The teeth holes. All right. Okay. So Alessi asked her if she knew anything about, how Alexis SUV could cause these wounds. These are from John O'Keefe's arm, obviously. And we've got scratches. These are teeth marks. That's a full bite. That's a nip. Well, it's a nip. That's a nip. So you've got the top teeth. You've got the bottom teeth connecting there. I don't know whether that's a bruise or whether that's just lividity. Because when I sharpen this, that actually does look like a part of this bite. That bit there. Like the Chloe's like gone for his elbow. She's not connected. She's shifted her mouth position. And that's why you've got 3 marks where the canines would have connected, because she's moved. She's moved to try and get a better hold. And those are the bottom teeth. And I think that's part of that bite. And those as well. And these are scratches. I'm debating whether those are actually bites. Some kind of connection with the teeth rather than the claws, but I think they're more likely claws. Claw, and then you've got maybe a couple of bites there that are like, because they're on the elbow, and obviously he'd be moving his arm as well as it being bony. she's not been able to like get a hold, so it's just like a series of nips. That's what I'm seeing there. Anyway, let's move us on to the magic hair. The magic hair is right at the end. He's brilliant. Alessi's brilliant. Alessi's brilliant. Actually, I'm going to play the glass as well. I'm just going to let it play through, and I'll comment.
Certainly, at a minimum, it increases the risk for an incorrect conclusion or observation, correct?
Again, it depends on what part of the protocol isn't followed, but it's possible.
So, I assume it's therefore important to you that the protocols are followed so that the best result and the best collection and therefore the best analysis occurs, correct?
I make every effort to follow the protocols.
Is the quantity of the material you observe and collect also relevant, perhaps not to you, but to other persons in the investigation?
Yes, it can be.
And therefore, it's important not only to get the type of material correct, but to get the quantity correct.
In some instances, yes.
And with regard to your work on this vehicle on February 1st, do you recall discussing the collection, the observations you made with regard to the rear bumper?
Did I just, I'm sorry, can you ask that question again,
Sure.
please?
On direct examination, you talked about glass on the rear bumper, correct?
Yes,
You
apparent
talked
glass.
about what you observed, you talked about what you put a sticker on, you talked about what you collected, you talked about the transport of it, correct?
That is correct.
And you put it in your notes and you talked about it on direct examination, I assume because it was an important part of the work that you did.
Yes, it was a piece of evidence that I collected, correct.
And therefore, it's important for you to have made correct observations and to make.
No, lividity. No, when we talk about lividity, lividity is where the blood pools after death. So when you die and your heart's no longer beating, the blood falls, you just basically gravity to the lowest point in the body. So if you die on your back, laid on your back, then you're going to get a buildup of blood all along your back. Like it's just going to fall down through your body and pool on your back, under the skin on your back. And it looks a lot like bruising. So it'll look like purplish, like a really, really strong bruise, but it's not. It's called lividity. It's like red, purple. And if you're moved after death, lividity can denote that you've been moved. So let's say, for example, because lividity starts to happen pretty quickly after death. So let's say, for example, you die on your back, but then you're moved. Well, you're going to find that there's spots of lividity that don't look right. So a medical examiner can speculate on how that body might have been positioned originally as opposed to how it was found. So lividity is that. So John was found on his back, so you would expect for there to be lividity on his back and the undersides of his arms and down the backs of his legs. So that's what lividity is.
Make correct collection, correct?
Correct.
With your honor's permission, if we could publish Exhibit 133. If I could have a moment with Mr. Woke just to do this efficiently, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, let's just move on just a second. Let's just have a look at this picture. I mean, look how bad these photographs are. Look how bad these photographs are. We've just seen one. Right, that's really overexposed. That photograph, right? It's really overexposed. So what you can't see is the piece of glass that they're actually trying to photograph. It's there, I think. I think. But then what you've got here is a reflection. This is the reflection of this in the black background. So it's a terrible photo, you know, as a crime scene photo. It's terrible. It's just terrible. Everything's terrible. Yeah, it is. Everything's terrible. So I think that is the actual piece. And then that's its reflection. Dear me. Anyway, let's move us on a little bit. I do want to talk about the hair. The hair's just hilarious. And then you've got all this debris or salt, right? Because remember, you know, this had been driven through a blizzard. And you've got these, like, bits of salt. Well, where were these on the inside of the taillight? There wasn't any. Dear me.
In fact, there's only one sticker, and the second sticker is merely a reflection of the first sticker, and therefore you have doubled the stickers and you've doubled the amount of glass on the bumper. Can you see that? Can you determine that from the photo?
No, can I see the other photo, please?
Oh
Yes.
my God.
So
She can't even see that this is a reflection. Come on now. She either can't see it and she doesn't understand reflection, or she's just purposefully sounding dumb to make her direct make sense. Because Brennan got it wrong.
if we could, Your Honor, with your permission, go to Exhibit 133.
Okay.
Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Anybody can see that that is a reflection. It's like looking in a mirror. So there's a sticker, like where the piece of glass is, right? And oh, look, there's another sticker where the piece of glass is. And what's this? This is the surface of the car. This is an overexposed picture, and it's created this reflection. Come on.
You asked to see this one. Can you now make a determination, having seen both of them, whether there is in fact just one sticker and therefore one volume of glass associated with it?
No, I cannot.
Oh!
You're saying this is a reflection?
I can't testify,
Okay.
so I'm asking you.
Do you remember it came out in the last trial that she failed some proficiency tests or something? Yeah, they sorted it out though. Like she'd passed. She'd failed something, but she'd then passed. So yeah, I do remember that. But come on, that's a reflection. Surely you can see that that's the like inside edge of this piece here, and then this. Surely you can see that. No, come on.
With Your Honor's permission, if we could go back to the other picture.
Okay.
And you could zoom in. Do you see a reverse B in that picture?
I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
I'm sorry, a reverse B as in Bob?
No, could you zoom in on each of the stickers for me, please?
We'll do whatever you would like to do to answer the question. So
Sure. Okay. And then if I could just see the other sticker, please.
Absolutely.
Yes, I believe that is a reverse B, correct.
And doesn't that mean that it's a mere reflection and that there's only one sticker that you put on and therefore only one volume of glass associated with one sticker?
Can you say that question again? I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I will stay by the microphone. Is this microphone picking up? So therefore, can you now conclude, because of the reflection and because of the reverse B, that there is only in actuality, and there was only in actuality, one sticker and one B, and therefore one volume of glass associated with this bumper?
I don't know specifically that it's a reflection. It's not unusual for me to use the same letter on a sticker if I'm going to collect the items of evidence together. So if I had written it, on top or on the bottom of the scale on one of them and on the top of the scale on the other one, that is a possibility. It's difficult to.
Okay, so she uses the same letter, but she reverses one. Why is she even arguing this? Surely she must see that that is a reflection. Surely she must be able to admit that she now it's been pointed out to her, she sees that that is a reflection. Why is it so hard for people to say, well, shit, I fucked up? Exactly. You just say something like, on reflection, yes, I see that that is a reflection. Surely she would know in her notes how many pieces of glass she'd actually found. Can she not just check her notes? Because she'd surely, in her notes, it would have like the marker that she's used, the marking system she's used, and then against each marker, she'd put what it was. You would think. So why can't she just check her notes?
To tell by this picture. What I can tell you is that all the items of glass or apparent glass that are present on the bumper were collected together. So I can't say specifically by looking at this photo whether I just label two separate areas to make the photo show the pieces better or if it is a reflection. I can't say.
So from what we just went through, you're not able to tell that that is a reflection and therefore equivocation. Is that correct?
I'm
Do you have any doubt whether there is a reflection on the photo that is on the screen at this moment? Do you have any doubt?
Oh, I would say it could be a possibility, yes.
Right. So you have doubt.
Assistant.
So you believe it's a possibility.
Yes, correct.
Is it more than a possibility?
Yes. Assistant.
You would agree that it's important to have the accurate answer to that question, correct?
I think that, yes, obviously understanding and knowing exactly what I'm looking at is important, but it would not change what I would have collected and how I would have labeled it.
So with regard to what others might do and conclude from that, it could be important to them, correct?
Yes. Assistant.
Let's go to we can go back to the.
All right, I'm sure we're going to hear more about this morning. So we've got a possibility that it might be a reflection. She did have her notes with her because she did some reading from her notes. We know she's got her notes with her. She could just say, could I have a moment? Could I check my notes to clarify? Because it's been a long time, it's been 3 years. So I'm sure the jury wouldn't mind her just clarifying. And it would actually be more credible that there was just one piece of glass than there would be multiple pieces of glass. Because if one piece of glass managed to hang on all of those miles of journeying through a blizzard, okay, at least it's a horizontal surface. At least it doesn't have to defy gravity. Maybe it's possible. But if you start multiplying the pieces of glass, for each piece of glass that you find, increases the chance of that piece of glass flying away. But let's move on to the hair, because the hair is just absolutely hilarious. Oh, this is hilarious as well. You see the snow falling off. You see the snow falling off. So he sets this up really nicely. Watch here. All right, this is This is Alexis. This is from the camera that should have seen Michael Proctor taking pieces out of the taillight, except, just during that time that Michael Proctor was there doing that, allegedly, the camera didn't work. But watch this. The pieces of Snorty are falling off.
Ms. Hartnett, there had been various weather before February 1st in the area. Is that correct? You testified to that somewhat on direct examination.
Yes, that's correct.
And are you able to discern from what is on the screen now that there is some type of precipitation that is on the back window of the lift gate of the vehicle?
Yes.
And is that consistent with what you observed when you were in the Sally Port on February 1st?
I don't believe I observed the precipitation on the back of the vehicle by the time I arrived.
But does this refresh your recollection as to whether there was, in fact, that precipitation?
So all the snow that was on fell off. Of course, it would do, because it's in the Sally Port for 3 days before she arrives. And it's going to be above freezing in the Sally Port, so the snow's going to fall off. But it didn't knock that hair off. The magic hair clung on. Clung on regardless. But she even argues about this snow.
On the vehicle at that time.
Can you ask it differently so you need it clearer?
Yes. Do you recall when you were at the Sally Port on February 1st, any precipitation on the rear window of the liftgate of the SUV?
No, I do not recall.
And does this depiction refresh your recollection on that point?
I'll allow that. Does it?
No, I don't recall seeing any precipitation on the vehicle, and I don't know when that.
Her today, gone tomorrow. Well, except no. Her today and her stays forever. That one hair stayed forever. Still be there. She plucked it off with tweezers. But if she hadn't plucked it off with tweezers, it would still be there hanging on.
Photo was taken, so that does not refresh my memory of that instance.
Is there a date of January 29th, 2022 on that photo? We can enlarge it if that would help. And again, this is in evidence. Do you see what is at the bottom of the
It doesn't refresh her recollection because it had gone by the time she got there. So he's setting this up really nicely.
photo?
I do.
Now, if we could play, with Your Honor's permission, this video. And if we could stop it at certain points, Mr. Wolk, that would be helpful. May we, Your Honor?
Okay.
Thank you.
Ooh, slipping. Ooh. Boom. The polar ice caps are melting.
If you could wait, Mr. Wolk, until the sirens pass. Mr. Wolk, if you can go back just and wait until the sirens pass, please. Thank you. I think they passed. If you could accelerate it just a little bit, Mr. Wolk, without overly accelerating all that's happening.
Exactly, hey, that's great. Exactly. How did the hair not blow off in all of the travel that the car did? Exactly. It had to go from Fairview to Meadows, then back to Meadows, then to Dighton, then onto the truck.
And accelerate it a little bit
and
more.
then spend 3 days in Canton Sallyport
And that's good.
with
And if you could
everything
bring- yes.
melting
Thank you.
all off the
If you'd have the
car.
lights on and take that down, please.
But no. So we got the travel we got the blizzard, we got the wind speed, we got the melting snow, and that hair still clung on. Unbelievable.
Can you describe what you just saw?
Whatever the white material was present on the back of the vehicle was falling off
And where was it falling onto?
the ground.
And did it hit anything before the ground? For example, did it hit the bumper before it hit the ground?
I didn't take note of that.
That was on January 29th, 2022. You were at the Sally Port on February 1st, 2022, correct?
That's correct.
So that occurs on January 29th. You come to the Sally Port on February 1st, yet there is glass on the bumper on February 1st that, as you have described it, is just perched on the bumper. Right.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, so there's a piece of glass still perched on the bumper. I can buy one piece of glass. I can buy it. I could possibly, conceivably think it's possible that that piece of glass hung on. At least it's not having to defy gravity. It's only having to defy the weather. It's not having to defy gravity. But this hair, come on now, right? He tells her what the wind speeds are. So it's fairly windy. It's fairly windy, but still, we got to go to the hair. We got to go to the hair. Here we are. Here's the hair. This is ridiculous. This is even worse than the miracle glass. The miracle glass is bad enough, but the magic hair is unbelievable.
Yes.
That hair wasn't secured to that panel, was it?
No.
It, in fact, wasn't secured in any way on that quarter panel, correct?
That's correct.
It wasn't taped?
No.
It wasn't glued?
I bet the jurors went home and tried to stick a hair to the side of their vehicle. Do you know what I would have done if I'd have been a juror? I'd have pulled a hair out, I'd have stuck it to the side of my vehicle, and then driven home and see if it's still there. I just want to know if a hair will stick, whether there's some kind of property of hair that magnetically connects itself to the side of a metallic surface. I just want to know if it's possible, like some kind of static or something that sticks it. All I want to establish is that, first of all. And then I want to establish how far you can actually drive with a piece of hair stuck to the side of your car. Dear God. It's just not possible. It defies the laws of physics. It defies the laws that make up our entire universe. I'm sorry. This can't happen.
Was it stapled?
No.
Was it stapled?
It was not affixed in any way whatsoever.
No, it's not.
You found this apparent hair at the same time you found the glass
I'd love to know the jurors' faces right now.
pieces on the bumper, correct?
In the same general time, yes, that's correct.
When you say same general time, it was just one day you were there, correct?
Yes.
The range of time wasn't that broad, was it, correct?
No, it was not correct.
What was the range of time between finding one versus the other?
I don't know specifically. I was there for approximately 2 hours, so within that time period.
So within just 2 hours, you found the pieces of glass and the apparent hair, and within that time, you did your examination, you made your notes, all of that done within just 2 hours.
Yes, that's correct.
You remember the journey we talked about of the vehicle?
In my opinion, that stuff was planted just in time for her visit so she could find them. I don't think she's in on it. I think she's just a useful idiot, and she's demonstrated perfectly what a useful idiot she is by failing to check her notes to see whether there was 2 pieces of glass or 1, and failing to admit that that was actually a reflection. So she's a useful idiot. That's all. I don't think she's in on it. You know, for all the people who say, well, you know, if you believe this conspiracy, you've got to believe that everybody in Canton and everybody in the Massachusetts State Police and everybody in the crime lab, everybody's got to be in on it. No, you only need a few people to be in on it and everybody else just to be a useful idiot. And oh my word, there are many idiots out there. Some of them are useful, and this is one.
That you spoke about with regard to Canton, Dighton, Canton. Recall that?
Yes, I do.
So do you know whether, do you have any knowledge whether that hair was part of that journey? Do you have any knowledge?
I do not.
I hope she goes home and she thinks, what a fool I made of myself. I hope she does.
Do you know when the hair was deposited on the vehicle?
No.
Was it easy or hard to take off the apparent hair from that quarter panel?
It was easy. Again, I picked it up with a pair of tweezers.
Didn't give you any resistance?
No.
With your honor's permission, I would like us to look at a depiction of the hair. May I, your honor?
What exhibit number?
It is, I believe we're going to start with 144B.
Okay.
And if you could zoom in, please, Mr. Wolf, for the jury and for Ms. Hartnett. Do you still have a laser pointer, Ms. Hartnett?
Yes, sir.
Could you kindly use that and draw a circle around the apparent hair?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm going to refer to that as a J shape. Is that a fair description of it, or do you have a better description of it?
I see two ends of the hair in an arch, so I'm going to say more of like a C shaped.
Okay, so you would refer to that as a C shape?
Correct.
And would that be a reverse C? Then if it's a C shape?
In that picture, it's difficult to tell if the ends are making contact or if they're coming off the vehicle. So I'm not sure.
Whatever way you would describe it, a letter or shape, because then what I'm going to do, just, it's not a trick here, but
Yeah.
I'm just going to show you another picture of it, of that hair that might be in a different location or different shape. So I want to give a contrast. So whatever term you want to use that's fair to you.
So I think it looks like a C. I can't say, it could also be like a U. I'm not sure which way the ends are facing from this perspective.
Can you once again, just so we're clear?
She doesn't know what. Right, doesn't look anything like a C, but at least you can see what sides the ends are facing.
And the jury's clear, just draw a circle around it again, what
Sure.
you're talking about, and we won't give it a name,
Okay.
right? We'll just do the contrast. Right.
Okay.
So if I were to just say there looks like there might be a little hook at the top and then there's a vertical line, is that a fair description?
Yes,
Okay, so can we go with that? A little hook at the top and then a straight, or a line, that vertical line that comes down?
sure.
And that
Yes.
hook is orienting left, correct? Of the vertical line? It's to the left of the vertical line?
Yes, I do see it from this perspective to the left. That's
Okay,
correct.
very good. And that's the apparent hair.
Yes,
And you only saw or found one apparent hair, correct?
yes, that's correct.
All right, if we could, Mr. Wolf, now go to exhibit 144A. And if you could zoom in on that for Ms. Hartnett and the jury's benefit. Could you draw a circle now around the apparent hair? Thank you. And isn't that apparent hair now oriented almost 180 degrees, the opposite, with the hook orienting right?
The photo's taken from a different angle, so do you see the hook? Are you talking about the hook at the top? Looks now, it appears to be on the right, but I can't, they're taken from different angles. Sure.
Yeah, now it's C.
Did you take the picture?
No,
Are you speculating that it's taken from a different angle?
I mean, I'd have to see them side by side, but it's just the orientation.
So, are we saying that each end is connected and the middle of it is flopping about in the wind? Because surely that's the only way that it could change its position. Like, whilst remaining connected to the surface, the only way it can change its position is if the two ends stay connected and the middle bit is flopping about. So it can flop over to reverse C and then right way around, see? Do you see what I mean? While this has been playing, I'd just like to say that I've been trying to stick hairs to the side of a Coke Zero can. I've been trying various sizes of hairs. I've been pulling my own hairs out and fashioning them into various sizes to see whether size matters. And so far, no success. I've tried wetting the side of the can and still no success. But I'll endeavor to keep trying.
Of the, my marking. Can you put them up side by side?
Absolutely.
Okay.
If that would be helpful to you answer your questions, happy to do it.
Potentially, yes. Thank you.
Absolutely. Maybe we can zoom in if possible to each one, so we get, would that be helpful? We zoom and get side by side.
I mean, even from the overalls, I can tell that they're taking.
Let's start with the overall first, that you would like, and then we can. Okay, is that where you wanted to start?
Update. I wetted both the side of the can and used a really small hair, and I got it to stick for like a second and then it fell off. So I'm making progress.
Yes, just by looking at those, to me, it looks like one is from slightly to the side of the vehicle and one is more directly head on.
Right, so one's slightly to the side and the other's a little bit more head on, but that's the only difference, correct? It's
Yes.
still the same from top to bottom. It's still the same from side to side. It's the same orientation, correct?
The vehicle didn't move, but the camera angle is different in both pictures. That's what I was saying in the other one. So the camera angle is different.
All right, I could see how the hair might look like it's in a different position from, this is what, 45-degree angle maybe, and this one's head on. But how would it make it change its orientation entirely? How would it make it change from a reverse C to a normal C? Just changing that angle.
One is the one camera angle appears for who's ever taking the photo to be standing off to the right of the vehicle. The second photo looks like it's more directly head on.
The 570 is oriented the same way in both pictures, correct? You see the 570?
Yes.
On the left, and you see the 570 on the right, correct?
Yes, I do.
They're same orientation, right?
They're in the same location on the vehicle, but I don't think they're at the same orientation. I think one looks.
If you could, I want to make sure you finish, but if you could just, my questions are rather narrow.
Okay.
And then if you need more time to answer them, I'm happy to do that.
So let's just ask a question.
Yes, thank you, Ronnie. So isn't the 570 in each picture oriented the exact same way?
If you could just explain what you mean by oriented, I think that's where I'm confused.
They're the same. You can read the 570.
She doesn't know the word oriented. Okay. Can we use the same dictionary that they had to get out for, what's his face? Buchanan. Right, he didn't understand the word theory, but we have to give him some grace because English is only his third language. So let's get the dictionary out just to make sure that she understands the word oriented.
70 horizontally. It's the same horizontal plane, correct? It's the same straight across, like one doesn't have the 570 upside down. You can read it from left to right, a 5, a 7, and a 0, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. Now, if we can, Mr. Woke, now zoom in and get the largest depiction of each one from a zoom in.
Right. So that's the straight on. So that's what it looks like straight on. And that's what it looks like oriented about 45 degrees this way. It's impossible for that hair to be the same hair. So that's what it looks like straight on. That's what it looks like. It wouldn't change into a reverse C, would it? by flipping it, like by so that's straight on. That should look more sea-like. It shouldn't have changed its positioning. It shouldn't have gone into a reverse C. It should have looked more sea-like. Like, it's the wrong way round. Do you see what I mean? He did. It turned out to have quite the vocabulary once he got going. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It looks like the same shape at the top. Like, it's got like little hook. But at the bottom, no. Like, on that one, it's curved up. The only way it could move like that is if the two ends were connected and the middle bit was flapping in the wind. And then, as the photographer's moving around, maybe it's wafting the air. So this is moving. But these ends must be very, very well connected to have travelled, like done numerous journeys in windy conditions, in a blizzard, and then endured 3 days of the built-up snow melting all around it. That must be very firmly connected. She said nobody breathed on it. No, look, this is not, it's moved. It's probably, as somebody was photographing it, it's probably fallen off and they've stuck it back on. Dear God. Who knows? It's just so stupid. It's so stupid. And what's this? This one here. What's this? Like, that's not there at all in that picture. So what's this? Like, is that another little hair? Or is that just something else? Because that's not there at all in that picture. Like, if you think about it, we're seeing that spot is that spot. So you've got this little collection of whatever that is. Right? And then you've got this and this, which are the same. So these are not changing the position, are they? These little that look like Nike swooshes, they're not changing the positions, are they? So why has the hair changed its position? Right, so they're off that shot, so you can't see them. So that's that. That's not changed its position. That's not changed its position. That's not changed its position. That's changed slightly based on the angle. But I think that might be right. But all these little markers here, whatever these are, bits of salt, they're not changing the position based on the angle change. So why is this hair? I think pick one is seen from the right in front of the hair, and two is from the side, so you wouldn't see the curves because they're lying over the middle of the hair. Maybe. It just doesn't, like, because that's the head-on one. So I don't know. I don't know.
Are you saying that?
I think that might look different because there's a curve there. So when you see that head on, that's like further away. Whereas you're seeing the whole curve on that one. So nothing else has moved in this picture. The only thing is this hair. And the only way it might look like it's moved when it hasn't is if this top bit has got some freedom. Like it's raised up. Like I'm kind of being frivolous and joking a bit about it wafting about in the breeze as a photographer's moving. But if it is stuck by the ends and then you've got this middle bit that's kind of loose, maybe it does look straight on some pictures but curved on others. It's just insane to expect a hair, any hair, whether it's moved or not, to have stuck fast through miles. Like you've got Fairview Road to Meadows. Then you've got it sits in the garage for 4 hours. Then it goes back to Fairview. Then it goes to Dighton. It sits there for a few hours. Snow builds up on it. Then it gets put on a transporter truck and it gets brought to Canton, where it sits for 3 days. And all this snow melts off it, and yet this hair is stuck there. So what is magic about this hair? Like that really is. It's like, look, I know what it is. I've got it. I've got it. This Lexus is part German Shepherd. Hear me out. Hear me out. When they made this Lexus, they put in some DNA from the German Shepherd dog, thinking that you know, it would increase its stamina, it would increase its likability, it would increase its tenacity, and that's how the taillight was managed to bite John O'Keefe's arm and look like a German Shepherd bite. What we're seeing here is actually not a hair from a random person. This is actually the hair that is starting to grow out of the side of the Lexus, because we know that German Shepherds, if you've ever had a German Shepherd, you know how much hair they have, right? They're all over the place, right? They're very hairy. So this Lexus, having been, during its engineering process, inputted with a little bit of German Shepherd DNA, is actually starting to grow hairs. So this isn't stuck to the side. This is growing out of. This is growing out of. Come on now. That's more believable than what they're trying to feed us. Night Rider K9 edition. Oh, look. It's more believable than the crap that they're trying to feed us. A Lexus. Oh, I'm done. All right, I'm leaving it there. I'm getting too silly. And I just can't. All right, so we've got an hour before this continues, because this was very close to the end, and she's back this morning with more. So, dear God. All right, thank you all for joining me. The Lexus German Shepherd Hybrid. I'm sure it'll take off. I'm sure it'll be a great hit. You know, if you're a dog lover and a car lover, then you're going to love the Lexus SUV German Shepherd Hybrid. But there you go, I've solved it. That's how the injuries on John O'Keefe's arm look like a German Shepherd bite. Because they kind of were. All right. Oh, you couldn't make it up. You absolutely could not make it up. It's absolutely tragic. Someone lost their life. There's no justice here at all for this poor man. And if the jury convict Karen after all of this absolute nonsense, then I will have lost every single ounce of faith I have left in the criminal justice system. I will have lost it all because this is crazy. This is crazy. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Thank you all for joining me. Thanks as always to the mods. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow for the recap of day 16. And I'm about to release over on Michelle After Dark. I'm about to release a video. It's uploaded while I've been talking. It's about Lily and Jack Sullivan, and it's the inconsistencies of the parents in their own words. So I've got as many of the interviews from Daniel as I could find and put them all together in one video. I'm sure I've missed some, but I've found as many as I can. All right, guys, I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.